In today's world, the Air Force has become an important and defining component of success for any nation. And where does Burkina Faso, which often becomes a part of the headline, stand? President Ibrahim Traoré recently congratulated 20 newly trained Burkinabe war pilots who have officially joined the Burkina Faso Air Force. This marks a significant milestone for the country as it strengthens its defense capabilities in the face of growing security challenges in the Sahel region. Traoré's congratulations come as part of a broader initiative to build a self-sufficient and formidable military, one that is no longer reliant on Western powers or foreign aid for its survival and success. But what do these 20 newly trained war pilots mean for Burkina Faso, as compared to the US or any other nations that have pilots in thousands? Let's find out. So, how does the addition of these 20 pilots signal a turning point for Burkina Faso's military strength? The recent graduation of 20 Burkinabe war pilots is more than just a routine military ceremony. It marks a pivotal moment in Burkina Faso's path to military independence and strength. For years, Burkina Faso, like many African nations, was heavily dependent on foreign powers for military aid, training, and defense strategies. This reliance, particularly on Western nations like France, often came with political strings attached, limiting the country's true sovereignty over its military decisions and operations. Under the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré, however, that dependency is beginning to change. Traoré's government has made it clear that Burkina Faso will no longer rely on external actors to secure its borders and protect its people. The graduation of these 20 war pilots represents a major step forward in the nation's quest for military self-sufficiency. It's not just about having more personnel. It's about having a skilled air force that can respond rapidly to the growing insurgent threats in the Sahel region, where insurgent groups are wreaking havoc. With these new pilots, Burkina Faso gains critical air power that will allow it to monitor, defend, and strike against insurgents with greater precision and effectiveness. But there's more at stake here than just military capability. This graduation is a powerful symbol of Burkina Faso's autonomy. For decades, African nations were subjected to external control over their defense capabilities, often being forced to rely on foreign nations to train their soldiers, pilots, and commanders. In doing so, they were always operating under the influence of foreign interests. Traoré is breaking from this model, and these pilots are the embodiment of Burkina Faso's push to reclaim control over its military future. The training and skills were developed under a vision of independence, not under the shadow of foreign powers dictating the terms. The strategic importance of air superiority in the Sahel cannot be understated. As insurgent groups continue to destabilize the region, Burkina Faso's new pilots will be critical in shifting the balance of power. With the ability to carry out surveillance, quick response attacks, and close air support for ground forces, Burkina Faso is now much better positioned to handle its defense. It no longer has to wait for foreign intervention or rely on the delayed responses of international coalitions. Instead, the nation can act decisively, swiftly, and on its terms. This move is not just tactical, it's also deeply symbolic. Traoré's leadership has been marked by a consistent effort to break away from the neo-colonial ties that have long held back Burkina Faso's true potential. Training these pilots at home is part of a larger strategy to build a homegrown military force that is skilled, capable, and entirely under the nation's control. This isn't just a matter of national security, it's a matter of national pride. Burkina Faso is proving that it can stand on its own feet, and these pilots are a living testament to that new reality. As Traoré congratulated these 20 war pilots, it wasn't merely a formal acknowledgement. It was a declaration that Burkina Faso was stepping into a new era, an era where the country will no longer depend on foreign powers to fight its battles. Instead, Burkina Faso will lead its defense, chart its path, and decide its future. This is a significant turning point for the nation's military strength and its place in the region, and it sends a clear message to both its allies and adversaries. Burkina Faso is rising, and it's ready to defend itself. The successful training of these war pilots is part of Traoré's larger vision for a fully independent Burkina Faso, free from the need for Western military assistance. But what exactly is Traoré's strategy for building a stronger, more self-reliant military? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue. Ibrahim Traoré's leadership has been defined by his unwavering commitment to breaking Burkina Faso's reliance on foreign powers, especially in the realm of national defense. Traoré sees military self-sufficiency as the cornerstone of his vision for a truly independent Burkina Faso, free from the remnants of neo-colonialism that have historically tied the country to external military support, particularly from Western nations like France. The recent graduation of 20 war pilots is a clear reflection of Traoré's dedication to building a military that is self-reliant and capable of defending the nation without needing to look outward for help. At the heart of Traoré's strategy is the principle of self-reliance. For decades, Burkina Faso's military strength was propped up by foreign aid and training programs that often came with significant political conditions. Traoré has been vocal in his rejection of this model, recognizing that true sovereignty cannot be achieved if the nation's defense is dependent on external actors. Training these 20 war pilots within Burkina Faso is a critical move toward eliminating this dependency. These pilots represent the beginning of a new era where Burkina Faso's military capabilities are developed at home, on its terms, without the influence of Western powers seeking to impose their agenda. Traoré's approach to military sovereignty is not limited to pilot training. It encompasses a broader strategy to overhaul Burkina Faso's entire defense infrastructure. This includes not only the training of military personnel but also the acquisition of modern equipment and technology. Importantly, Traoré has made a point of sourcing this military hardware from non-Western nations like Russia and China, ensuring that Burkina Faso's military growth is not beholden to the political pressures often tied to Western military aid.
Hopefully, this relationship will be for the better to us in order to build a better future for our country.
The new pilots, soon to be flying advanced warplanes secured through these partnerships, symbolize the country's shift towards self-sufficiency and its refusal to remain tied to the old model of foreign dependency. The decision to seek training and equipment from non-Western allies is a deliberate one. Traoré is aligning Burkina Faso with nations that respect its sovereignty, rather than those that impose exploitative conditions. By diversifying its military partnerships, Burkina Faso is positioning itself as a nation that makes decisions based on its interests, not under the shadow of Western powers. This is a critical part of Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso's future, one where the country is no longer vulnerable to external influence or intervention, but instead stands strong with the backing of partners who support its independence. The graduation of these 20 war pilots is a direct reflection of this broader vision. Traoré has repeatedly emphasized that Burkina Faso's military must be built from within, with Burkinabe forces trained to defend their nation without needing to depend on foreign intervention. This moment represents a significant milestone in that journey. These pilots are not just soldiers, they are the embodiment of Burkina Faso's new direction, a future where the nation's defense is in the hands of its people, trained to operate advanced military technology and respond to threats on their terms. Traoré's message is clear. Burkina Faso will no longer be a passive recipient of foreign aid and military support. By congratulating these newly trained pilots, he is signaling to the world that Burkina Faso is ready to stand on its own in the fight to secure its borders and protect its people. This move towards self-sufficiency is not just about military strength. It's about reclaiming the country's sovereignty and ensuring that Burkina Faso's future is shaped by Burkinabe hands. In addition to bolstering national security, Traoré's push for military independence serves as an inspiration for other African nations still grappling with the vestiges of colonialism. By developing its defense capabilities and refusing to rely on Western powers, Burkina Faso is setting a powerful example for the rest of the continent. The graduation of these pilots sends a message that African nations can and should take control of their military destinies, forging partnerships that respect their autonomy rather than submitting to the dictates of foreign powers. Now the question is, was this a big deal? Can the addition of these war pilots strengthen Burkina Faso's ability to combat insurgency in the Sahel region? With the graduation of 20 newly trained war pilots, the balance of power begins to shift. These pilots are not just numbers added to an Air Force roster. They represent a transformational leap in Burkina Faso's ability to tackle insurgency. Air superiority in the Sahel is not a luxury. It's an absolute necessity. In a region where ground forces are hindered by vast, unforgiving landscapes, the ability to launch precise airstrikes, conduct real-time reconnaissance, and mobilize rapid response units will redefine how Burkina Faso fights back. Let's be clear. These pilots are a force multiplier. They bring a new level of efficiency and speed to the military's ability to disrupt insurgent operations. No longer does Burkina Faso need to rely on slow-moving ground strategies that often allow insurgents to evade capture. With these air capabilities, the Burkinabe military can now strike at the heart of insurgent strongholds, hitting them where it hurts, and cutting off the vital supply routes that have sustained these groups for years. But what makes this development truly monumental is how it changes the strategy. For too long, Burkina Faso has been in a reactive stance, forced to respond after an attack has already taken place. These pilots allow the country to flip that script. Now, Burkina Faso can go on the offensive. Rather than waiting for insurgents to strike, the Burkinabe Air Force can initiate preemptive strikes, dismantling networks before they have the chance to launch their next deadly assault. This shift in strategy is critical if the country is to regain control of territories that have fallen under extremist influence. It's no longer about survival, it's about reclaiming sovereignty. The implications of this are not just national, they're regional. Burkina Faso is a key member of the G5 Sahel, a security initiative that includes Mali, Niger, Chad, and Mauritania. For years, these nations have struggled to contain the spread of extremist violence, often relying heavily on foreign intervention, particularly from France's Operation Barkhane. But now, with the addition of these highly trained war pilots, Burkina Faso is positioned to lead from the front, reducing its, and the region's, dependency on foreign powers. This is about more than just military might. It's about control. For too long, the security of African nations has been in the hands of outsiders. But with these new capabilities, Burkina Faso is proving that African nations are fully capable of securing their futures. These pilots aren't just defending their country. They're setting an example for the entire Sahel and beyond. This is precisely the vision President Ibrahim Traoré has championed, an Africa that leads its security efforts, free from the paternalistic oversight of foreign powers who often have their agendas. Traoré has consistently argued that the future of the Sahel must be decided by Africans themselves, not by external forces who swoop in with temporary solutions. The development of Burkina Faso's Air Force, symbolized by these new war pilots, is the manifestation of that vision. This is what real empowerment looks like. When these pilots take to the skies, they aren't just fighting insurgency, they're fighting for the future of Burkina Faso and the region. They're proof that African nations can and will lead the charge in their security. This isn't the narrative that many in the West want to hear, but it's the reality they will have to accept. Burkina Faso is no longer a dependent state waiting for rescue. It is a nation ready to defend itself and take charge of its destiny. As Burkina Faso strengthens its military capabilities, it is also important to examine the larger geopolitical implications of this move. What does this development mean for Burkina Faso's standing on the international stage, particularly concerning its non-Western allies? The graduation of these 20 war pilots signals far more than a domestic military milestone. It's a loud declaration that Burkina Faso is rethinking the very nature of power, influence, and partnership in a rapidly shifting global order. President Ibrahim Traoré's leadership has ushered in a period where Burkina Faso is no longer just reacting to external forces, but actively reshaping its alliances to assert control over its destiny. What's truly new and different about Burkina Faso's rise isn't just about sidestepping former colonial powers like France. Plenty of nations have sought to do that. The difference lies in how Burkina Faso is leveraging the complexities of a multipolar world to position itself as a central player in the power structures of tomorrow. The war pilot's graduation embodies this shift. not as an isolated event, but as the latest step in a broader strategy to align the country with non-Western powers that are reshaping the geopolitical landscape, not simply providing aid or transactional deals. Let's talk about strategy. Burkina Faso's international stance with its non-Western allies is no longer about passive acceptance of military aid. It's a highly tactical dance of influence. These alliances have become mutually beneficial, not through one-sided dependence, but through strategic value exchange. Burkina Faso isn't just a recipient, it's a partner with unique leverage. Russia, for example, views Burkina Faso as a key entry point into a resource-rich region that remains relatively untapped by Moscow's traditional African partners. Russia's interest isn't merely about expanding influence for influence's sake. It's about positioning itself as a primary defender of nations that want to resist Western political and economic pressures. For Russia, Burkina Faso's ability to stabilize itself militarily in the Sahel has broader implications for Moscow's credibility as an alternative global power broker, capable of offering security solutions that the West can't, or won't, provide without strings attached. But what Burkina Faso brings to Russia is just as critical. It's not just about military gains. It's about legitimizing Russia's role as a non-colonial, stabilizing force in Africa, providing Moscow with much-needed validation on the global stage. Russia's influence in West Africa, therefore, is increasingly tied to the perception of it as a partner that builds, rather than extracts, something the West has failed to do. We have talked about their ties before, so let's not go into more detail. Then there's China, whose involvement goes beyond infrastructure investment. What's new here is that Burkina Faso is becoming a cornerstone for China's deeper strategic ambitions in West Africa. Traoré's government, by nurturing this relationship, offers China not only access to resources, but also a stable partner in a region often plagued by instability. This long-term strategic partnership ensures that China can tap into the Sahel's growing importance, not just as a market but as a critical geo-economic corridor for its Belt and Road Initiative's expansion into the African interior. What makes Burkina Faso stand out, and what we haven't seen in many of its regional counterparts, is its ability to play the geopolitical chess game with precision. Traoré is not simply jumping from Western to non-Western allies. The Air Force development, symbolized by these pilots, represents a much more profound shift. A balancing act where Burkina Faso has understood the art of aligning with powers that see it as an indispensable piece of their global strategy. Traoré's Burkina Faso knows its bargaining power. Saudi Arabia, through IMCTC, is another ally that Burkina Faso isn't just benefiting from, but is reshaping. With its new military prowess, Burkina Faso becomes a critical testing ground for Saudi Arabia's ability to position itself as a leader in African counterinsurgency efforts. In return, Burkina Faso gains military expertise and support. But more than that, it places itself at the heart of a new kind of Islamic coalition building, one that stretches beyond the traditional centers of power in the Middle East and into Africa. This is a bold move, one that gives Burkina Faso not just security, but geopolitical weight. The big takeaway here is that Traoré's Burkina Faso is not simply shifting from one set of global powers to another. It's choosing to be a critical node in a rapidly evolving multipolar world. By strengthening its military capabilities, especially through these new pilots, the country is showing that it has value beyond the battlefield. Burkina Faso is becoming a critical strategic partner for its allies, influencing not just the power dynamics in Africa, but playing a part in the shaping of global security alliances. Finally, what sets Burkina Faso apart on the global stage is its ability to navigate multiple alliances simultaneously, without falling prey to over-reliance on any single power bloc. It is a balancing act that few nations have managed so effectively. The graduation of these war pilots, symbolizing the country's growing military strength, proves that Burkina Faso is emerging not as a dependent state, but as a sovereign nation capable of turning its alliances into instruments of long-term stability, growth, and international influence. In short, Burkina Faso's war pilots don't just represent a stronger air force, they represent a stronger Burkina Faso, a nation that is now playing the global game with far more skill, influence, and agency than it ever has before. And this is only the beginning. The emphasis on military self-sufficiency is a key pillar of Traoré's strategy. By focusing on building domestic military infrastructure, developing local training programs, and aligning with non-Western allies like Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia, Burkina Faso is not only reducing its reliance on Western powers, but also asserting its right to chart its future. This is a powerful statement of sovereignty in a world where many African nations still struggle under the weight of neo-colonial influences. Traoré is showing that Burkina Faso can take control of its security without compromising its autonomy. In the long run, Burkina Faso's strengthened air force and military capabilities will be crucial in maintaining its security, especially as the Sahel region continues to face threats from insurgent groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The addition of these war pilots will allow Burkina Faso to better defend its borders, protect its citizens, and combat insurgent groups that have destabilized the region for years. The ability to launch airstrikes, conduct reconnaissance missions, and provide rapid support to ground forces will significantly enhance the Burkinabe military's capacity to neutralize threats and maintain internal stability. But the impact of these developments extends beyond Burkina Faso's borders. As a key member of the G5 Sahel, Burkina Faso's enhanced military capabilities will play a critical role in regional security efforts. The G5 Sahel, which also includes Mali, Niger, Chad, and Mauritania, has long relied on foreign intervention, particularly from France, to fight insurgency. However, with Burkina Faso's growing military strength, the region can begin to shift away from Western dependency and toward African-led security solutions. Traoré's leadership is already inspiring other African nations to reconsider their reliance on Western military aid. Burkina Faso's success in developing a strong, independent military could serve as a model for other countries across the continent, demonstrating that African nations can build their defense systems and secure their futures. Do you think Traoré will win? Will Western nations be able to keep their control of Africa? Let us know in the comments section. Do you think Burkina Faso's future is secured? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.